who is our next partner?
Sumo Logic.
Sumo Logic, what do they do?
They give you a monitoring platform for your Kubernetes cluster, and you're running from your nodes all the way up to your pods.
So one of the advantages of not just Sumo Logic, but any partner that is here in the ecosystem today is because of our full conformance, that we are giving you a 1.10 cluster, and with a 1.10 cluster, this is fully conformant. So anything that works on upstream Kubernetes would work really well on EKS as well. And that's a classic example on how Sumo Logic is working on it. Take it away.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me today. My name is Frank Reno, and I'm a solutions architect at Sumo Logic. And today I want to take you through our integration that we've built to help you monitor your EKS clusters. EKS gives you this highly available, highly secure control plane and lets you just focus on your applications. But monitoring those applications is absolutely critical. So I want to tell you this a little bit about us. We're a cloud-native machine data analytics platform. We're built in AWS. We've got over 1,600 customers, 50,000 users. We operate in 5 different AWS regions. We ingest machine data, and that machine data can be in the form of unstructured or structured logs, could be in the form of time series data, and we provide you a comprehensive view to give you all that you need to keep an eye on all of your applications. So why use Sumo Logic with EKS? Well, there's a few great advantages. First of all is full application visibility. We have full visibility into all the workloads that you're running inside your EKS clusters. This lets you keep an eye on things, make sure things are operating as you would expect. The idea with Sumo Logic is to be able to spot these problems faster. Problems will arise, things will happen in your applications, and you need to resolve those issues as fast as you can. And Sumo Logic's here to help you do that. And also, with this, the ability to unify both the logs and the metrics, you get the complete story. You can tell what's happening inside your cluster and use the logs to figure out why this is happening. So before we go into the demo a little bit, I want to talk to you about how this is built and how this all works. So everything works just like you would expect in any Kubernetes cluster, right? EKS is managing the control plane for you, and you've got worker nodes that are behind some kind of auto-scaling group. And we've got a few different processes that we use to collect the data. So the first is we open sourced a FluentD plugin. The FluentD plugin runs as a daemon set. It runs on every node and is responsible for not only getting the logs from all the applications running in Kubernetes, but it also enriches the logs with the valuable metadata, all the key values that you label your resources with. In the namespace, you have complete visibility into all those. They're all brought in. We also have a cron job that we run. This is hitting the API and extracting useful state information from the API. High-level information like are nodes healthy, are pods healthy, things like that. And we also have, we're also using Heapster. Heapster can output to a Graphite sync, and our collectors, our agents that sit on top, that run as a container, can also read all that information. So these 3 bits of information give us all the pieces that we need for our application that we've built. So let me go ahead and go to the demo now. So first things first, we've got an EKS cluster running, and there are 3 nodes on that cluster right now. And let me switch over to Sumo Logic. So, there we go. So what we've done is we've taken all of this information that we're getting, and we've built some pre-built content designed to really quickly identify things that are going on in the cluster. This is more focused on the application level, though. What's running in the cluster? What's the general health of the cluster? So we can see that we have, for example, 3 nodes total, all of those nodes that are not ready state. We can get a breakdown of what's running in the cluster. We can see that by the various namespaces. We can see phases. We could potentially identify failed pods or things that aren't running. And of course, we get all the metrics. We can monitor the resource consumption across the system. So we can look at CPU, memory, disk, and network traffic across it. Now we also get a nice breakdown of more detail of what's actually happening in the cluster. We can see the various containers and the state they're in. We can see the pods by phase. And we can also see various events that are happening for every pod. So all the events that have transpired as this applications are running. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other dashboards we've got. That's great. But we also can take all this information, we can kind of start to break it down even further, right? And the next logical order would be to break it down by node. It's useful to see this information. It's useful to see consumption by node. How much node capacity do I have? How many pods do I have running on each node? So I can kind of monitor the capacity and do planning against that. And we can even go so far as to break it down at the individual pod level as well. And we can actually see the consumption by each pod and see what everything's using. So let's go ahead and take a look. What I've done is I've deployed a demo application, the standard sock shop application from our friends over at Weaveworks. And what I can see right here is that I have a bunch of containers that are that are going through a high restart count. I've got lots of different restarts happening. As I look through the errors, I can start to see that we're getting some OOM errors. We're running in a crash loop back off. And maybe I want to see more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and filter. One of the great things about these dashboards is that you can filter on various information. You can apply that information to all there. So it's our front end pod that seems to be failing. So let's go ahead and filter on that. And the dashboards will refresh, showing us more state about that information about what's running. If I could type. Can't know what you're not looking for. There we go. And I can actually see that, yeah, these are the containers that aren't ready. It's coming from this pod. So let's go further and let's take a look. Now, we're getting an out of memory issue. More than likely, that means that I don't have my memory set right. We've probably all been there before. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down that by pod now. I'm going to go to my pod overview and I'm going to do a search for the same information. And what I'm looking to see is how much memory are these things using. And I can actually see the limit and the requests that are set to. And something that catches my eye is that I've set the limit and the request both to 10. In fact, the limit is probably really much too small. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at that. This is the YAML file that we deployed. And yep, I can see that I have that set to 10. So let's go ahead and bump those up. Let's go to let me go here, make this a little bigger for everybody. And everything's running in the demo namespace right now. Okay. You know, I don't think I saved that file now that I think about it. Let's try that again. So now we've made the changes that should hopefully repair those pods. And really what we're trying to do is make sure that our application comes up. So we've got that front end application up and running. Maybe not. Well, while that's waiting to come up, let me show you a couple of other things too. So not only are we getting all the information about the pods themselves, we're getting all the log files from the pods, we're getting the container metrics from the pods, and we're getting all the metrics for the applications that are running inside those. And you will run lots of different applications. You'll have homegrown applications that you've built. You might have common services and common appliances. So one of the things that Sumo has to make this a lot easier is we have our app catalog. And this is all pre-built content, pre-built dashboards for any one of these many services that you show here. We have a lot of integration with AWS, and we have a lot of support for various open source applications or components that you might be running inside of your stack and inside of your applications. And in this application, one of the apps that actually happens to be running is I'm running Mongo Database. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly install this. Now, what this is this telling it where to find that data. I've tagged all the data with EKS. So quickly, we're going to go through and we're going to install that. And let's go take a look at a dashboard and see what we see. So apps will consist of lots of different dashboards. They're pre-built content that we've learned from experience of working with lots of customers, working with that technology, seeing what they're using and seeing what they're building this for. And as you can see, we're already collecting those logs, and with just a few clicks, I was able to install our application, and now I get instant visualization against all of this data. And anything in the app catalog is just as easy as that to install. With Kubernetes, because of the Fluent D plugin, we're automatically getting all these logs. It's as simple as installing a couple of YAML files, and that will spin up the daemon sets that will start to bring in all the logs. It will enrich all that data, and it'll give you all the metrics as well. Now, some of you may be concerned, I did use the word heapster. Heapster's being deprecated. Don't worry, we're actually on the verge of creating some new metrics collections specifically to replace heapster, and also bring in even more data to give you more visibility and monitoring to your systems running in EKS. All right, thank you guys.